The next morning, Captain Taiwan and his crew prepared for their meeting with the Veldorian Council. They wore their best uniforms and made sure everything was clean and proper. Whatever happens today, Taiwan told his crew, remember that we represent Earth. Let's make a good impression. When they left their room, they found the corridors lined with Veldorians. The aliens stood silently, watching as the humans passed. Some of the younger ones made small waves. It feels like a parade, June whispered. Jexatal was waiting for them at the end of the corridor. Follow me, he said. The council is ready. He led them to a large circular room. In the center was an open space. Around it, rising in tiers, were seats filled with Veldorians in different colored robes. There must have been hundreds of them. Please stand in the center, Jextal instructed. The humans walked to the middle of the room. The lights dimmed, and a soft blue glow illuminated the center where they stood. A Veldorian in a white robe rose from the highest tier. I am High Elder Nexval of the Veldorian Confederacy, he announced. We have gathered to discuss the results of the ancient trials and their implications for the galactic hierarchy. The room was completely silent. Every Veldorian was watching intently. For 10,000 years, Nexval continued, the trials have determined the place of each species in our galactic community. Those who struggle in the trials are protected. Those who show moderate success are treated as equals. Those who excel become our allies. He paused, looking directly at the humans. Never in our history has a species completed all 3 trials with such ease. This presents us with an unprecedented situation. Taiwan stepped forward. High Elder, my crew and I are honored to have participated in your trials. We hope our actions have shown that humans can be valuable friends to the Veldorian people. Friends? Nexval repeated the word carefully. Captain Park, the trials have shown us that humans are far more than friends. You are... He seemed to struggle for the right word. You are like gods to us. The humans looked at each other in surprise. No, not gods, Taiwan said quickly. We're just people. We simply evolved on a planet with different conditions than yours. A death world, Nexval said. A planet that would kill most species in minutes. Yet you thrive there. You play in frozen water. You swim in your oceans, you climb your mountains for fun. The elder stepped down from his seat and approached the humans. The other council members murmured in surprise. The ancient texts speak of a species that would one day come from a death world, he said quietly. Beings who would pass the sacred, trials as if they were nothing. Beings who would change the hierarchy forever. He turned to face the other council members. Today, that prophecy has been fulfilled. The chamber erupted in sound, the vibrating noise that the humans now recognized as Veldorian excitement. When the noise died down, Nexval spoke again. The council has made a decision. We offer Earth immediate membership in the Galactic Confederacy, not as equals, but as our protectors. Protectors? Taiwan repeated. What would that mean exactly? Before Nexval could answer, alarms began to sound throughout the ship. Red lights flashed in the council chamber. What's happening? Hana asked. Jextal rushed to a control panel on the wall. He pressed several buttons, then turned to the council with a look of fear. The Drax have entered our system, he announced. 3 warships approaching rapidly. The chamber filled with the sounds of panic. Veldorians were speaking quickly to each other, some rising from their seats, others frozen in place. Who are the Drax? Taiwan asked Jexatal. A hostile species from the outer systems, Jexatal explained. They have raided our colonies for centuries. Our defenses are minimal. We are not warriors. Taiwan turned to his crew. It seems we're about to find out what being protectors means. Perfect timing, June said, cracking his knuckles. I was getting bored. Nexval approached them. We must retreat to a safer system. Our ship cannot withstand a Drax attack. You have no weapons? Mina asked. No defenses? Our shields can delay them, but not for long, Jextal said. We are a peaceful species. Our bodies are not made for conflict. Taiwan thought for a moment. How many people are on this ship? Nearly 10,000, Nexval replied. Then we need to protect them, Taiwan decided. Do you have any small ships we could use? Shuttles, maybe? Yes, we have transport pods in the lower bays, Jextal said. Good. June, you're with me. We'll take one of those pods and see what we can do about these Drax ships. Hana, Mina, stay here and help the Veldorians prepare for evacuation if necessary. Captain, you cannot face the Drax alone, Nexaval protested. Their ships are heavily armed. We'll just talk to them, Taiwan said with a smile. Maybe they're reasonable. 20 minutes later, Taiwan and June were in a small Veldorian pod approaching the lead Drax ship. It was dark and angular, covered in what looked like weapons. This is Captain Taiwan Park of Earth, he transmitted on an open channel. We wish to speak with the commander of the Drax vessels. There was a pause, then a harsh grating voice responded. This is War Leader Kraz of the Drax Dominion. The Veldorians are our prey. Leave now or be destroyed. Actually, Taiwan replied calmly, the Veldorians are under our protection now. We would prefer to resolve this peacefully. A harsh sound came over the channel, something like laughter. Two beings in a pod? This is your protection, Veldorians? Pathetic. June looked at Taiwan. I don't think talking is going to work. Got a plan B? Taiwan smiled. Remember that training exercise on Europa, with the ice tunnels? June's eyes widened. That was considered too dangerous even for special forces training. But we did it anyway, right? June grinned. For fun? Exactly. Taiwan turned back to the controls. War Leader Kraz, we're sending you some information about humans. Please review it before making any decisions. He nodded to June, who pressed a button sending the data files Mina had prepared. Videos of humans performing extreme sports, lifting heavy weights, running marathons, and fighting in martial arts competitions. There was a long pause. Then Kraz's voice returned, sounding less confident. These cannot be real. I assure you they are, Taiwan said. Now here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave the system and never return. In exchange, we won't have to show you firsthand what humans are capable of. Another long pause. You bluff, Earth Captain. Taiwan sighed. Plan B it is. What followed became legend throughout the galaxy. Using only the small pod and their standard equipment, Taiwan and June managed to disable the weapon systems on the Drax flagship. They used the pod's magnetic clamps to attach to the ship's hull, then June spacewalked to a maintenance hatch. Inside, they used their knowledge of ship systems to cause a power surge that disabled the weapons. When the other Drax ships moved to attack, Taiwan piloted the pod in maneuvers that the Veldorians had never seen before. He used the gravity of the nearby moon to slingshot around and approach from unexpected angles. June, meanwhile, reprogrammed the pod's communication system to create interference with the Drax targeting systems. Within 2 hours, the Drax ships were retreating. Their weapons were offline, their coordination broken, and all of it had been broadcast live across all Veldorian channels. When Taiwan and June returned to the Veldorian ship, they were met with complete silence. Every Veldorian they passed stared at them with a mixture of awe and fear. In the council chamber, Nexaval was waiting with Hana and Mina. You have saved our people, the High Elder said, with nothing but a pod and your own skills. It wasn't that difficult, Taiwan said modestly. The Drax weren't prepared for our approach. You disabled a warship by entering it and changing its systems, Jextal said. You flew maneuvers that our best pilots thought impossible. Just a slightly challenging afternoon, June said with a shrug. Later, as the humans prepared to return to their own ship, Nexaval presented them with a formal document. This grants Earth protected status in the Galactic Confederacy, he explained. It also establishes a defense pact that positions humanity as peacekeepers in this sector. We're honored, Taiwan said, accepting the document. Earth looks forward to a long and peaceful relationship with the Veldorian people and the Galactic Confederacy. Back on the Harmony, Taiwan sat in his office, writing his mission report. made first contact with Veldorian Confederacy, participated in cultural exchange, exercises, handled minor security incident, request shore leave for crew. When Earth's United Alliance received the Veldorian offer of protected species status for the aliens and a defense pact that positioned humanity as the galaxy's peacekeepers, officials were confused. All this because our people did some exercises, took a nap, went camping, and handled a minor skirmish? Asked the Alliance president. Yes, Taejuan confirmed. Apparently what we call Tuesday they call impossible. Within a year, humans had become known throughout the galaxy as the Deathworlders, beings of extraordinary capability. Young Veldorians studied Earth customs and tried to imitate human behaviors. Other species sought human protection and advice, and, on the Veldorian homeworld, a new saying became popular. When facing a challenge, ask yourself, what would a human do on an average Tuesday? The end. The next day, the mood on the Veldorian ship was different. As Taejuan and his crew walked through the halls, they noticed many more Veldorians watching them. Some young Veldorians even waved at them. We've become celebrities, Hana whispered. Famous, or infamous, June wondered. They were led to a new area of the ship. This room had a large window that showed a view of space. Near the ship floated a small, rocky moon. Welcome to the third trial, Jexatal said. The survival trial is our most challenging test. Mina stepped forward. I'm ready. Jextal nodded. Specialist Cho will be transported to the surface of our ship's moon. She will be provided with basic equipment and must survive for 12 standard hours. What are the conditions like? Taejuan asked. The moon has a thin atmosphere, breathable for humans, but barely. The temperature ranges from very cold to very hot as the moon rotates. The gravity is approximately 60% of Earth's. There are no predators, but the terrain is dangerous. Sounds like camping, Mina said with a smile. The Veldorians looked at each other in confusion. Camping is when humans go into nature and live without modern comforts, Taejuan explained. Many do it for fun. You leave your safe dwellings. Voluntarily? A Veldorian scientist asked. Yes, Hana said. I go hiking in the mountains several times a year. Sometimes I sleep under the stars. The Veldorians made their vibrating sound of shock again. Let's proceed with the trial, Jextal said quickly. Specialist Cho, please follow me to the preparation room. Mina was given a pack with basic supplies, a water container, some food, bars, a simple tool that looked like a combination knife and screwdriver, a light source, and a communication device. This is all the equipment allowed, Jexatal explained. The communication device is for emergencies only. If you use it, the trial ends. Got it, Mina said, checking the items. This is more than enough. You will be transported to the surface in one of our pods, Jextal continued. After 12 hours, we will retrieve you. Remember, the goal is simply to survive. Mina nodded and followed a Veldorian to a small egg-shaped pod. She climbed inside and waved to her crewmates. See you in 12 hours, she called. Save some lunch for me. The pod door closed and it was launched toward the moon. Taejuan and the others watched on a large screen as the pod landed on the rocky surface. Now we wait, Jextal said. On the moon, Mina stepped out of the pod onto the rocky ground. The sky was black, filled with stars. The air was thin but breathable, just as Jextal had said. She could see the Veldorian ship in the distance, looking like a bright star. First things first, she said to herself. Find shelter. She looked around and saw a group of large rocks about 100 meters away. She walked toward them, enjoying the low gravity that made each step feel bouncy. The rocks formed a small cave. Mina checked it carefully, making sure it was stable. Then she took out her supplies and arranged them neatly. Perfect, she said. Home sweet home. Back on the ship, the Veldorians were watching Mina's every move through cameras on the moon's surface. She found shelter quickly, one scientist noted. Very efficient. But the true challenge will come when the temperature drops, Jextal said. The cold cycle begins in 2 hours. Taejuan and his crew watched calmly. They knew Mina was well-trained. For survival situations, on the moon, Mina had gathered smaller rocks and arranged them in a circle outside her cave. She used the knife tool to cut strips from the bottom of her uniform. She wrapped these strips around some of the rocks. "What is she doing?" a Veldorian asked. "I think she's making a marker," Hana suggested, "so she can find her way back to the cave if she explores." But Mina wasn't making a marker. As the temperature began to drop, she took the strips of cloth and wrapped them around her hands and feet for extra warmth. She moved the rocks into her cave and arranged them to block the entrance, leaving just enough space to get in and out. "She's creating insulation," June explained. "Those rocks will absorb heat during the warm period and release it slowly during the cold period." The Veldorians looked impressed. As the hours passed, Mina didn't just survive, she thrived. When the temperature dropped, she stayed in her insulated cave. When it warmed again, she explored the area around her landing site. She found some crystalline formations and collected samples, carefully placing them in her pack. "She's collecting mineral samples?" Jextal asked, surprised. "That's not part of the trial." "Mina has a curious mind," Taiwan said. "And she knows Hana would want to study anything interesting from the moon." 6 hours into the trial, Mina had set up a complex system of rock markers that led from her cave to various points of interest she had discovered. She had created a small notebook from strips of cloth and was writing on it with a piece of charred wood from one of her food bars, which she had lit using the reflection from her light source. "She's making maps," June noted. "Very detailed ones." The Veldorians were now watching with obvious admiration. Many had gathered in the observation room to see the human who was turning a survival test into an exploration mission. 9 hours into the trial, Mina sat at the entrance of her cave, eating one of her food bars and drinking water. She looked completely relaxed, as if she were on a pleasant day trip rather than a deadly trial. "Specialist Cho appears to be enjoying herself," Jextal said, sounding confused. "Mina loves exploring new places," Hana explained. "Before joining our crew, she led wilderness expeditions on Earth. People paid her to take them camping in remote areas." "Your species pays to be placed in danger?" a Veldorian asked. "We don't see it as danger," Taehwan said. "We see it as adventure." When the 12 hours were finally over, the Veldorians sent a retrieval pod to the moon. Mina packed up her belongings, carefully stored her samples and maps, and cleaned up her campsite. She even arranged the rocks she had used into a neat pile. "Why is she doing that?" Jextal asked. "The trial is over." "It's a habit," June explained. "On Earth, we're taught to leave natural places as we found them. Leave no trace is the saying." When Mina returned to the ship, she was met by a crowd of Veldorians. Many of the younger ones pushed forward, trying to get closer to her. "Welcome back, Specialist Cho," Jextal said formally. "You have completed the survival trial." "Thank you," Mina replied. "It was a fascinating experience. Your moon has some very interesting mineral formations. I brought samples for Hana to study." She handed her pack to Hana, who opened it excitedly. "Look at these crystals, and your notes are so detailed." The Veldorians watched this exchange with amazement. "You were not just surviving," Jextal said. "You were researching?" "Of course," Mina said. "It seemed like a good use of time." Later, back in their restroom, the humans discussed what had happened. "I think we've made quite an impression," Taehwan said. "The Veldorians seem to see us very differently now." "I overheard some of them talking," June added. "They're calling us Deathworlders with unstoppable spirits or something like that." "And did you notice?" Hana asked. "Some of the younger ones are copying us. I saw a group trying to do push-ups in the corridor." Mina looked at her mineral samples spread on the table. "Their moon is fascinating. The crystals there are unlike anything I've seen before. They seem to change color with temperature." The door opened and Jextal entered. He looked serious. "Captain Park, I must speak with you," he said. "The council has been in session since Specialist Cho's return. Your crew's performance in the trials has created a situation." "What kind of situation?" Taehwan asked. In 10,000 years, no species has ever completed all 3 trials with such ease. The implications are significant for the galactic hierarchy. Jexatal paused. The Council has decided that you and your crew must appear before them tomorrow for a final assessment. We would be honored, Taiwan said. As Jexatal left, the humans looked at each other. Final assessment? June repeated. What do you think that means? I don't know, Taiwan said. But whatever it is, I'm sure we can handle it. Just another Wednesday, Hana said with a smile. Outside in the corridor, young Veldorians were now not only doing push-ups and meditation, but also arranging rocks in circles and drawing maps on pieces of cloth. A new phrase had begun to spread throughout. The ship, what would the humans do? The next morning, the Veldorians seemed nervous. When Captain Taehuan and his crew arrived for the second trial, Jexatal was speaking quietly with a group of aliens wearing different colored robes. Welcome to the second trial, Jexatal said when he saw the humans. Today we will test mental resilience. Sounds interesting, Taehuan replied. What does that involve? One of you will enter our simulation chamber. It creates an environment designed to test the limits of mental endurance. The humans looked at each other. June stepped forward. I'll take this one, he said. I have experience with high-stress situations. Jexatal nodded. Very well. Please, follow me. The Veldorians led them through a different part of the ship. This area was quieter, with darker lighting. They stopped at a round door. This chamber was designed by our best psychologists, Jexatal explained. It creates conditions that most beings find difficult to endure. What kind of conditions? Mina asked. Isolation, sensory disruption, temporal distortion. Jexatal seemed reluctant to give details. The mind is challenged in ways that reveal its true strength. So, it's like a meditation room? June asked. The Veldorians looked confused. What is meditation? One of them asked. It's when you sit quietly and focus your mind, Hana explained. Many humans do it to relax and improve mental clarity. The Veldorians turned to each other, speaking quickly in their own language. They seemed troubled by this information. You seek isolation, voluntarily? Jexatal finally asked. Some people do, Taehuan said. Not everyone, but it's a common practice. Jexatal turned to the others in colored robes. They spoke again in their language, then turned back to the humans. We will proceed with the trial as planned, Jexatal announced. Officer Lee, please enter the chamber. The trial typically lasts 1 hour. If at any point you wish to stop, simply say so. Got it, June said. He smiled at his crewmates. See you in an hour. The round door opened, and June walked in. The room inside was completely white, walls, floor, and ceiling. There was nothing else. The door closed behind him with a soft hiss. The rest of them were led to another observation room. Through a window, they could see June standing in the middle of the white room. He looked around, then sat down cross-legged on the floor. The trial begins now, said one of the robed Veldorians. He pressed something on a panel. Inside the room, the lights began to change. They pulsed slowly, shifting from white to blue to purple and back. A low humming sound filled the air. What's happening? Taehuan asked. The chamber is creating sensory interference, Jexatal explained. It disrupts normal thought patterns. Many species find it deeply uncomfortable. On the screen, June didn't seem bothered. He had closed his eyes and was sitting very still. Is he sleeping? A Veldorian asked. No, I think he's meditating, Mina said. Half an hour passed. The lights in the chamber continued to pulse. Sometimes the room would appear to shift and change shape. The humming sound changed pitch randomly, but June remained seated, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Increase to level 2, said one of the robed Veldorians. The lights in the chamber flashed faster. The humming became louder, with sudden sharp noises mixed in. The walls of the room appeared to close in, then pull away. Still, June didn't move. His vital signs are steady, said another Veldorian, looking at a screen. heart rate normal, brain activity consistent with deep relaxation. That's impossible, said the first robed Veldorian. Level 2 causes extreme anxiety in most species. Another 30 minutes passed. The Veldorians had increased to level 3, which made the room look like it was spinning while flashing lights created strange shadows. The sounds had become a chaotic mix of high and low tones. June still sat in the same position. At one point he shifted slightly to straighten his back, but otherwise remained still. This is remarkable, Jextal said. No species has ever remained calm through level 3. Maybe he's in distress but not showing it, a Veldorian suggested. No, his body signs indicate he is truly relaxed, said another, pointing to a screen, full of graphs and numbers. After the full hour had passed, the Veldorians ended the trial. The door to the white room opened and June stood up, stretching his arms above his head. He walked out calmly. How do you feel? Jextal asked immediately. Fine, June said. A bit stiff from sitting so long. That was actually nice. I got some good thinking done. The Veldorian stared at him. Did you not experience distress? One of the robed ones asked. Confusion? Anxiety? June shrugged. Not really. The lights and sounds were a bit distracting at first, but I tuned them out. Tuned them out? Jextal repeated, confused. Yeah, I just focused on my breathing and let everything else fade into the background. June smiled. I used to serve on Earth submarines, underwater ships. We would be sealed in a metal tube deep under the ocean for months at a time, with the same people, doing the same tasks, day after day. You learn to manage your mind in those conditions. The Veldorians were silent for a long moment. Your species voluntarily goes under your oceans in metal containers for months? One finally asked. Yes, Taiwan confirmed. We have many submarines for research and defense. Later, as the humans ate lunch in their restroom, Mina was looking at her tablet. I think I found something important, she said. I've been studying the Veldorian language database they gave us, and I think there's been a translation error. What kind of error? Hana asked. These death trials aren't what we thought. They're not just tests or cultural exchanges. They're their sacred rites of passage. The trials determine status in their society and their galactic community. So we're not just doing friendly exercises, Taiwan said. We're proving ourselves in some kind of ranking system? Exactly, Mina said. And from what I can tell, most species attempt these trials only after years of preparation. Many fail. Some even die trying. And we've been treating them like they're nothing special, June said. Not just that, Mina continued. The records show that a species' performance in these trials determines their place in what they call the galactic hierarchy. It affects trade agreements, territory rights, everything. So us doing push-ups and taking naps during their deadly trials, Hana began, is completely changing how they see humans, Mina finished. We're accidentally proving that humans are one of the toughest species they've ever met. The door opened, and Jextal entered with 2 other Veldorians. They moved carefully, keeping their distance from the humans. We must discuss the 3rd trial, Jextal said. After the unexpected results of the first 2 trials, our council is unsure how to proceed. What's the problem? Taiwan asked. The 3rd trial tests survival skills in harsh environments. But we now realize that what we consider harsh may be normal for humans. Perhaps we can help, Mina suggested. I've been studying your language database, and I think I understand the purpose of these trials better now. They're not just tests. They're how you determine status in your galactic community. Jextal seemed surprised. Yes, that is correct. The ancient trials have determined the hierarchy of species for thousands of years. Then we should continue, Taiwan said. We are honored to participate in your traditions. The Veldorians looked at each other, then back at the humans. The 3rd trial will proceed tomorrow, Jextal announced. Communications Specialist Cho will face the survival trial on the surface of our ship's moon. After they left, Taiwan turned to his crew. This is getting more serious than we thought. Mina, are you sure you want to do this? Mina nodded. Absolutely. If these trials determine how Earth will be treated in the galaxy, then we need to do our best. She smiled. Besides, I was a wilderness guide before joining the space program. I can handle whatever they throw at me. That night, word spread throughout the Veldorian ship about the humans who had passed the deadly trials with ease. Young Veldorians were now not only trying to do push-ups like Hana, but also sitting cross-legged with their eyes closed like June had done. The humans are changing everything, one Veldorian council member told Jextal. If they complete the third trial as easily as the first two, we may need to reconsider the entire galactic hierarchy. Perhaps that is exactly what the ancient text foretold, Jextal replied. The arrival of beings from a death world who would pass the sacred trials as if they were nothing. The next morning, Captain Taiwan and his crew returned to the Veldorian ship. They wore their standard uniforms and brought no special equipment. As they walked through the halls, they noticed many Veldorians watching them from a distance. They're staring at us like we're zoo animals, June whispered. Or like we might explode, Hana added with a small smile. Jextal met them in a large hall. Behind him stood at least 20 other Veldorians, all wearing what looked like protective gear. Welcome, Jextal said. Are you prepared for the first trial? As ready as we'll ever be, Taiwan replied. What exactly will we be doing? Jextal pointed to a large metal door at the end of the hall. The first is a physical trial. It tests endurance in extreme conditions. Which of you will attempt it? The crew looked at each other. Hana stepped forward. I will, she said. I enjoy physical challenges. The Veldorians murmured among themselves. Jextal looked concerned. You understand this is not a simple exercise? He asked. This chamber recreates the harshest environments known in our galaxy. Hana nodded. I'm the ship's science officer. I'm curious to experience your technology. Very well, Jextal said. He turned to the others. Please move to the observation area. Only Officer Kim will enter the chamber. They were led to a room with a large window that looked into another room. The inner room was empty except for a metal floor and ceiling. On the other side of this room was another window where dozens of Veldorians had gathered to watch. Quite an audience, Mina noted. This is a historic moment, Jextal explained. No species has ever volunteered so casually for a death trial. Taehuan frowned. You keep using that phrase. What exactly is dangerous about this test? Before Jextal could answer, a door opened and Hana was led into the empty room. The door closed behind her with a heavy sound. The trial will begin now, Jextal announced. We will start with conditions that match your Earth and then slowly increase the difficulty. A voice came through speakers counting down. 3, 2, 1, begin. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Hana stood in the middle of the room looking around with curiosity. The gravity is now equal to Earth's, Jextal explained. The temperature is what you would call 20 degrees Celsius. The air pressure matches your planet's average at sea level. So, normal conditions? June asked. For you, yes. For us, already extreme. Inside the chamber, Hana stretched her arms above her head and did a small hop. She gave a thumbs up to her crewmates through the window. Increasing gravity by 10%, said the voice. Hana didn't seem to notice any change. She walked in a small circle looking at the walls of the room. Increasing temperature to 25 degrees Celsius. Again, Hana showed no reaction. She bent down and touched her toes, then stood up straight again. The Veldorians watching from the other window were pressing close to the glass. They looked shocked. Increasing gravity by another 10%. Temperature to 30 degrees Celsius. Increasing air pressure by 5%. Taehuan noticed that Jextal was gripping the edge of a nearby console very tightly. His crystal-like skin seemed to be changing color slightly, becoming more blue. Are you all right? Taehuan asked. The conditions in that room would kill a Veldorian in minutes, Jextal said quietly. Yet your officer shows no signs of distress. Inside the chamber, Hana had taken off her uniform jacket and tied it around her waist. She was now doing jumping. Jax, she's exercising? one of the Veldorians asked in disbelief. Hana likes to stay fit, Mina explained. She probably sees this as a good opportunity for a workout. Increasing gravity by another 15%, temperature to 35 degrees Celsius. Now Hana did react. She wiped some sweat from her forehead and slowed her jumping jacks. But then, she switched to doing push-ups on the floor. The Veldorians were now all changing color, some blue, others a pale green. They were talking quickly among themselves. Many were pointing at their screens and shaking their heads. I think your equipment might be broken, June suggested. Hana seems fine. That's impossible, said a Veldorian scientist who had joined them. The gravity in there is now 40% higher than Earth's. The temperature would cause heat stroke in most species. The pressure would damage lungs. It's a bit warm, and I can feel the extra gravity, Taiwan admitted, but nothing dangerous. Hana grew up in Seoul where summers are hot and humid, and she trained in our space program's high-gravity chamber. After 30 minutes, Hana was still in the chamber. She had moved on to doing slow yoga poses. She was sweating heavily, and her movements were more careful now, but she showed no signs of serious distress. Enough, Jextal finally said. And the trial? The voice announced, trial ending, returning conditions to normal. When Hana exited the chamber, she was met with complete silence. Every Veldorian was staring at her. How do you feel? The scientist asked her. A bit tired, thirsty. It was like working out on a hot day. She smiled. Do you have any water? The scientist handed her a container of clear liquid. She drank it all quickly. Thank you. That was interesting. The gravity was the hardest part. Later, the humans were led to a room where they could rest. The Veldorians had given them food and drinks that were safe for humans. As they sat around a table, they discussed what had happened. I thought it would be harder, Hana said. From the way they talked, I expected something really extreme. To them, it was extreme, Taehuan explained. I've been reading the information. They gave us about their species. Their home planet has gravity about half of Earth's. The temperature never goes above what we would call 15 degrees Celsius. The air pressure is much lower, so they're basically living in what we would consider high-altitude, cool conditions all the time, Mina asked. Exactly, and their bodies are much more fragile than ours. Their crystal-like skin can crack under pressure. Their lungs are designed for thin air. June laughed. No wonder they were shocked when you started doing push-ups, Hana. The door opened and Jextal entered with several other Veldorians. They moved slowly and kept their distance from the humans. We have analyzed the results of the first trial, Jextal announced. Officer Kim not only survived conditions that would be fatal to a Veldorian, but she engaged in voluntary physical exertion during the test. It wasn't that bad, Hana said politely. Jextal turned to Taiwan. Captain, we must ask, is Officer Kim typical of your species? Taiwan thought, for a moment. Yes, I would say so. She's fit, but not unusually so for a human. In fact, Hana added, on Earth I know many people who are much stronger than me. Athletes who can lift hundreds of kilograms or run for hours in hot weather. The Veldorians made that strange vibrating sound again, their sign of shock. Then, we must reconsider the second trial, Jextal said. It was designed to test mental resilience, but if your physical capabilities are this far beyond our expectations, we're happy to participate in whatever you had planned, Taiwan assured him. We came here to learn about each other. As the Veldorians left the room, June turned to the others. I wonder what they have planned for tomorrow. Whatever it is, Mina said. I think they're more afraid of it than we are. That night, the Veldorian scientists worked frantically to redesign their trials. Videos of Hana doing push-ups in what they considered deadly conditions had spread throughout the ship. Young Veldorians were trying to imitate her movements, much to the horror of their parents. These humans, Jextal told his council, are far more powerful than we imagined. Tomorrow's mental trial must proceed, but we must be prepared for more surprises. Captain Taehuan Park sat in his chair on the bridge of the Earth ship Harmony. It was a normal Tuesday. The ship hummed quietly as it flew through space. Taejuan looked at the stars on the big screen in front of him. He took a sip of his coffee and sighed. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," said Officer Mina Cho from her station. Her fingers moved quickly over her screen. "There's an unknown ship entering our solar system." Taejuan put down his coffee cup. "Show me." The main screen changed to show a large ship. It was unlike any Earth ship Taejuan had seen before. It had a smooth, shiny surface that seemed to glow with a soft blue light. It was at least 5 times bigger than the Harmony. "Are they sending any messages?" Taejuan asked. "Not yet, Captain," Mina replied. She pushed a few more buttons. "Wait. Now. They're asking to talk to us." Taejuan stood up. This was the moment humans had waited for. First contact with aliens. He straightened his uniform. "Put them on screen." The screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. It had smooth, pale skin that looked almost like crystal. Its eyes were large and completely black. It had no nose, just 2 small slits, and its mouth was a thin line. "Greetings, Earth vessel," the alien said in perfect English. "I am High Commander Jextal of the Veldorian Confederacy. We have been watching your planet for some time." "Hello," Taejuan said calmly. "I am Captain Taejuan Park of the United Earth Alliance vessel Harmony. We welcome you to our solar system." Jextal tilted his head. "You are not afraid?" Taejuan looked confused. "Should we be?" "Interesting," Jextal said. "We would like to invite a small group from your ship to visit ours. We wish to learn more about humans." Taejuan nodded. "We accept your invitation." 2 hours later, Taejuan was in a shuttle with 3 crew members: Science Officer Hana Kim, Security Chief Jun Lee, and Communications Specialist Mina Cho. As they approached the alien ship, they could see how massive it truly was. "It's like a flying city," whispered Hana, her eyes wide with wonder. The shuttle entered a large opening in the side of the Veldorian ship. When they landed, the air in the docking bay felt cool and thin. Taejuan took a deep breath. It was breathable, but barely. "The air is a bit thin," he told his crew. "Take slow breaths until you get used to it." A door opened and 3 Veldorians walked in. In person, they were taller than humans, about 7 feet tall and very thin. They wore simple white clothing that seemed to glow slightly. "Welcome aboard the Celestial Harmony," said the middle alien, who they recognized as Jextal. "Please follow us." As they walked through the ship, Taejuan noticed the Veldorians moved carefully, as if they were very fragile. The halls were wide and the light was dim. Everything was quiet. The Veldorians led them to a large room with a round table in the center. They all sat down. "We have many questions," Jextal said. "Your planet. It is very unusual." "In what way?" asked Hana, curious. "The gravity is extremely high. The atmospheric pressure would crush most species. The temperature ranges are shocking. And the oxygen levels, we had to prepare special breathing aids just to visit your probe sites." The humans looked at each other, confused. "Earth seems normal to us," June said with a shrug. Jextal's black eyes widened. "Normal? Your world has over 100,000 species that can kill you. Your oceans have crushing pressures. You have storms that destroy cities. You have mountains of frozen water." "You mean snow?" Mina asked. "Kids play in that." The Veldorians all made a strange sound, a kind of high-pitched vibration. Taejuan realized they were shocked. "Your young ones play in frozen precipitation?" one of the other Veldorians asked. "Without protection?" "Well, they wear coats and gloves," Taejuan said. "It's fun to build snowmen and have snowball fights. You throw the frozen water at each other for entertainment." Jextal seemed unable to understand. The meeting continued this way for an hour. The Veldorians asked about Earth, and with each answer they seemed more amazed or horrified. "You eat plants and animals that are still alive?" one asked, when Hana mentioned salads and sushi. "You swim in your oceans? Voluntarily?" another asked, when June talked about his beach vacation. You allow your skin to be exposed to direct sunlight? A third asked when Mina showed them a picture of her hiking trip. Finally, Jextal stood up. It is as our ancient texts predicted. You are Deathworlders. What's a Deathworlder? Taiwan asked. Beings who evolved on planets that most species would find impossible to survive on. Your bodies and minds must be incredibly strong to live on Earth. Taiwan didn't know what to say. Earth was just Earth. We would like to propose something, Jextal continued. In our culture, when we meet new species, we conduct a series of trials to understand their capabilities. Would you agree to participate? Taiwan looked at his crew. They nodded. Sure, he said. What kind of trials? Tests of physical strength, mental resilience, and survival skills, Jextal explained. They are challenging. That sounds fine, Taiwan said. Like team-building exercises, right? The Veldorians looked at each other. Jextal seemed confused by how easily the humans had agreed. These are what our people call death trials, he said solemnly. They are the most difficult challenges in the known galaxy. Taiwan smiled politely. Well, we're happy to participate in your cultural exchange. When do we start? Tomorrow, Jextal said. You should prepare yourselves. Many species have failed these trials. As they walked back to their shuttle, June whispered to Taiwan, Did they just say death trials? Taiwan nodded. Probably just a translation issue. I'm sure it's nothing we can't handle. Back on their shuttle, the crew discussed what had happened. They think Earth is some kind of hell planet, Hana said, laughing. Did you see their faces when I told them about rain? I didn't have the heart to tell them about extreme sports, June added. They might faint. Mina was looking at her notes. Their bodies seem very fragile. Their home planet must have much lower gravity and pressure than Earth. Let's make sure we're careful tomorrow, Taiwan said. Whatever these trials are, we don't want to embarrass them by making it look too easy. As the shuttle docked with the Harmony, Taiwan looked back at the massive alien ship. Send a message to Earth, he told Mina. Tell them we've made first contact and we're participating in some kind of cultural exchange tomorrow. What should I say about the death trials? She asked. Taiwan smiled. Just say we're doing some team exercises with the aliens, nothing special, just an average Tuesday in space. That night, as the humans slept peacefully on their ship, the Veldorians were in a state of panic. Their scientists were reviewing everything they knew about humans, trying to understand how these creatures could live so casually on a planet that would kill a Veldorian in minutes. They are either the strongest species we have ever encountered, Jextal told his council, or they are completely unaware of their own power. Either way, tomorrow will reveal the truth. Little did the Veldorians know that what they called a death trial, humans would just call Tuesday.